We're four Kiwis setting out on a journey traversing historic routes through the North Island of New Zealand. As South Islanders, we didn't know a lot about the area we'd be travelling through. This is Forgotten Highways.
Whanganui awa, manaki mai, awhina mai, aroha mai. Ma tēnei rā, ma koe te awa, ko te awa koe. Ake, amen.
The Wanganui River is so special it was recently designated the status of a legal person by the New Zealand courts. We wanted to travel the old highways of the river to follow the footsteps. A team of mates discovering and learning the Māori culture. Have these old trails, tracks and routes of the Whanganui District really been forgotten?
Kikarangi, Makariki, Kōwhai, Whiro, Mule, Jackson, Rose, Dean.
The route is a mix of mountain biking and packrafting, using the boats on the river to join the dots of trails both old and new through isolated jungle terrain, and in an oasis mid-route to refuel and prepare for the most challenging sections to come. The Wanganui River, or Awa, is North Island's original highway. Māori people have been travelling and living on the Awa for hundreds of years. The Wanganui was the lifeblood of the central North Island, supporting trade, providing food and giving spiritual strength to people throughout the entire catchment. The river still holds special significance to Māori and to many of the Europeans we met on our journey.
Hopefully it's just like 20-30 metres up in the trees in there. Might be able to find some earthworks too.
We set out on the first day with the goal to find a niu pole at the site of an abandoned village. Māori who followed the Paimārie church used to hang flags from these poles to summon spirits and ancestors. All we had to go on was a star on the map in the middle of an area of dense bush.
It's actually showing that there were Māori people here, and that po belongs to Tamakihu.
Oh, that's much bigger than I thought it was going to be. That new pole, how awesome is that?
That's cool.
I've been looking at that star on the map for like 30 years after paddling past it when I was a kid, and I've paddled past it a couple of times since.
In respect of the ancestors that were there before, their tupuna, the po has been put there to resemble that they were there beforehand, where places were put their marae or their pa.
So legend has it that there's a resident taniwha down here, and as you go past the rock you're to provide a green offering to ensure safe travels. There we go, taniwha. Keep us safe, brother.
Māori travellers asked for the protection of taniwha, mythical lizard-like monsters who lived in the Awa. Taniwha would guide any travellers who respected them and honoured the Awa, but when they were angry, taniwha could capsize waka or canoes, create huge whirlpools, or even swallow travellers whole. Once Europeans arrived in Aotearoa, the river was a highway for them too. Of course, they weren't content with only muscle power, and they soon introduced river steamers. The steamers carried everything from livestock and flour to politicians and dignitaries surveying the hinterland.
Long day, 8 hours all up, so shoulders are a bit sore. Here comes Jackson and Rose now. Just a very spiritual area for me. It was very alive. Boat to bike transformation.
So today we're leaving the Whanganui River, going along the Mangapirua track, but we'll be back at the river this afternoon where we do a 11k paddle to the Bridge to Nowhere Lodge.
Haven't spent much time up here at all in the Wanganui National Park. Amazing topography. Jungle itself is just so dense, and I would hate to go off track and get lost.
Following the First World War, the New Zealand government gave returning soldiers sections of undeveloped land to farm. Riding past signs with the names of each settler family, we couldn't imagine attempting to clear and farm such steep bushland.
to how the government gave the returned servicemen the land up there, and they ended up with nothing. They ended up walking off, and it's a vacant land. I feel really sad for those guys. But one thing we've got to understand is the government turned and said, right, it's a vacant block, it's been abandoned, I'll turn it into a national park. And me, myself, is smiling because it belongs to us, it belongs to everyone. It's a national park, so we've won. And we were told that in the Mangapirua River was a taniwha, and the taniwha wouldn't let anyone go in there, any of us Māori.
Today, the Mangapirua Road has been reopened as a cycle trail. The soft papa rock of the Wanganui region, so difficult for farming, creates spectacular scenery with towering cliffs and deep canyons. But the terrain is still treacherous, and each year a few riders sustain serious injuries after tumbling off cliffs riding beyond their ability. We were thankful the taniwha of the Mangapirua Valley respected our journey to allow us safe passage.
So I've just ridden down the Mangapirua Trail, led us to here on the Bridge to Nowhere, which is an amazing place. This is a massive concrete bridge built literally in the middle of nowhere that was supposed to join the rural isolated communities in the Mangapirua Valley. But the reality was that the terrain and the geology was always going to be too difficult to farm or to live off.
Returning to the river, we felt again its spiritual pull. We were also reminded of its continued economic importance. As we inflated our packrafts at Mangapirua Landing, jet boat operators waited to transport cycle tourists. The Awa is still providing for its people today.
So today we've been carrying our boats on our bars, on our bikes. Now we're going to hop on the river and carry our bikes on our boats. Bikes and boats and boats on bikes and bikes on boats.
But life on the river isn't like life in town. That evening we were privileged to experience true river hospitality at the incredible Bridge to Nowhere Lodge. Staying at the lodge, we were struck by the locals' passion for their awa.
My Wanganui River, guide us, support us, love us. Today, for I am the river is me, forever and ever. Amen. And that's what it means to us. All we wanted was to meet you and see who you are and feed you up, get a full belly. They asked if I get my jet boat licence just to do the odd tour. But I think I've come off the river and looked after the campsite, to tell you the truth.
The river hasn't been touched, it hasn't changed. The river is the same as what it was 100 years ago, 200 years ago.
There's a lot of challenges, like there's no roads or anything in here. There's no power in here. There's nothing. Everything's run on solar here.
And the good thing about this river is you don't get any tire kickers or trash coming down the river. Everyone that comes down loves the nature. They love the scenery.
It's such a fantastic place.
The Miti Yonga track, how do you think that's going to go for us with bikes?
With bikes, you're going to struggle. The Mati Taonga track is pretty rugged up through here. That is another connection to Taranaki for our Māori people.
The Miti Yonga track, the riding on it, just such, I love that technical, hard riding.
this morning was probably the most intimidating I've been on a bike for some time. Massive exposure and real slippery papa bedrock.
I guess today we're expecting to find more of what we had yesterday, which was, I guess, rideable, single track through heaps of bush ferns, which see hard to follow the track, scattered windfall here and there, carrying bikes up and over.
The Meiti-Meiti-onga was the section with the most uncertainty. Trail Forks said the trail was 90% unrideable for the first 20 kilometres and that the rideable sections were rare. But this highway was only cut to 4 feet wide before it was abandoned and returned to the bush.
Turned up at Oamaru Hut after leaving last hut about 8 hours ago, so 23 k's, 8 hours, incredibly slow going. Bit of a struggle at times, hike a bike, push, carry, all your clothes getting ripped at by bush lawyer. How'd you find your day today, Mel?
Difficult. The best things was going through the tree ferns and not being able to see the track and just sort of using the force. I took a couple of stacks today. They weren't that bad, but
Well, we've been to the bridge to nowhere, now it's the bridge to somewhere today. Out of the bush.
going from nowhere to somewhere.
The riding was amazing, but more the topography of the land. It was just so steep everywhere you looked. Okay, maybe sometimes the trees will catch you, but other times it just felt like you could just fall into abyss.
Our fourth highway was the old Wanganui road from the bridge to somewhere. The government gave settlers land here too. A road was built from the west using hand tools to drive tunnels through the papa rock. But by the time the bridge was finished, most farms were already abandoned, and the last families were forced out when the road became too difficult to maintain. Today, the entire valley is farmed as one station after a new road was built on a different route in '85.
Wow, that's a long way down.
We had some really neat riding through native bush, a couple of magnificent tunnels that we went through just carved out of the papa rock. Incredible infrastructure that they put in back then.
Arriving in the big smoke of Wanganui saw that even this town is forgotten compared to during its boom of railway construction and coal mining. Like the other places on our journey, tourism has brought Wanga a new lease of life, with our fifth highway, the Forgotten World Highway tourist route, bringing people and income.
Got bikes on buggies, heading north towards Taumaranui on our last day. Looking forward to giving the legs a rest.
Turn it on. Happy times.
Our last day gave us a chance to experience a unique highway, the abandoned Wanganui railway line, now run by a local operator as a tourist attraction. Who doesn't want to be a train driver?
Probably the route planning that I found the most challenging part, and then I was nervous the whole way around about, oh, what if this bit doesn't work, what if that bit doesn't work, but it all worked out really well.
It's been a while since I've done adventures in the North Island. Crashing through native North Island bush was just so different. Being able to do that in nature, endure those hardships, is pretty special.
We've covered, just in our little trip, we've covered 6, I think, forgotten highways. And at times I just fought myself back and quite humbled by the fact that we're retracing steps of people before us.
Rolling back into Taumaranui, we realised that none of these highways are really forgotten, just forgotten by those that choose to. The memories from the Wanganui highways will be with us for a lifetime.
still the lifeblood of the region. It's still bringing people here, bringing resources, giving resources back.
Whanganui au, anaki mai, awhina mai, aroha mai. Ma tēnei rā, ma koe te awa, o te awa koe. Ake, amen.
So we've had boats on bikes and bikes on boats, now bikes on backs, and hopefully we'll have bums on bikes soon.
Yeah, we'll get that. We've got 4 days to get that wrap going.